What do we talk about behind the scenes on the ULCM?
Before a string, I don't know. Talk about what you want to talk about, right?
I remember when
What
I
was
was
our first
listening in our
point?
theatre group, like,
I'm on my last straw. I'm broken and I'm woken up. I'm done feeding your lies. I've had enough. I can't run your place in this faulty game. No. And all the words you speak mean nothing more to me. 'Cause I'd start over now. Rewind, and I won't let you go. I need you by my side. I need you by my Silent nights recalling you, a souvenir of what it could be. Pieces of my mind are yours. I forgot the parts I'm missing. I pretend that we are okay, like nothing's ever broken. And I pretend that we are dancing, like the nights are never I pretend that we are okay, like nothing's ever broken. And I pretend that we are dancing, like the nights are never ending. We will live the lives, we will live the lives, live the lives, we will live the lives in the fast lane.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this week's episode. I say this week's, I mean, we don't really do these weekly, but to this episode, a League of Legends edition Salford Esports podcast featuring myself, your host, Rick Saga Sharples. See me highlighted in yellow, all high tech, snazzy. And I've got a couple of extra special guests today, and a couple of not so special ones. First off, since this is the Salford University Esports channel, we should introduce the chairman of the Salford University Esports Society, the undisputed champion of Ultimate Bravery 1v1s, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains, etc., etc. It's Joshua Snowkisler.
Hey, what's up, guys? I like that intro, actually. I think Mother of Dragons is a very suitable title for me.
Yeah.
We used to be called the Salford Dragons. I kind of wish we kept that name over the Salford Lions, but you know.
I don't know, dude. We'd have to pay extra for our graphics for that.
That would be more costly.
Yeah. We also have the other half of my Newell casting duo, the self-proclaimed Deck to my Aunt, self-proclaimed Robin to my Batman. He's a lover, he's a husband, and he's the man who has every actress who's ever appeared on a shampoo advert scared for their job security. It's Stan Greyheart Barker.
Hello there. Good to be here.
Stan, how's it going, Stan?
It's going very well. Thank you very much. It's exciting to be on here.
Fantastic. Yeah. And now we've got all of the lesser guests out of the way. Let's introduce our very special guest this evening. The prolific EULCS/LEC broadcasting professional caster, and undoubtedly the better looking half of the esteemed Medi-Vedi casting duo, wasn't available, so we got Medic instead. How you doing, Medic?
I'm doing well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. I've just built myself a new chair and sat on. It's
Excellent.
Way better than the old one. I had some help. My Jess is like yelling at me in the background, but enough of that. Let's get on with what we're here to talk about, and that is League of Legends.
I don't really care about the chair.
Oh, okay. Well,
more than the league discussion.
I'll send you a picture afterwards.
I'm going to need to know more about the
Okay, well,
we need to talk about the chair for a little while.
I'll send you a link to the Amazon page because
It's been built up a lot, literally.
yeah, yikes.
You guys are talking about the chair. I'm more interested in.
Okay, I'm done. Cool. We've had chair discussions. We had a bad pun. I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
Well,
Have a good one.
that's literally everything that Gray ever does is bad puns and occasionally chairs. But okay, no, this is League of Legends time, fellas. Enough of the Nexus Blitz. Enough of the chairs. Get on to some League of Legends topics. So, bearing in mind, as we've already said, this is the Salford Esports channel, the University Esports Society at the University of Salford, one of many. So it's best to start off. Josh, explain just what exactly is a University Esports Society.
So we put together teams to compete in the Newell and NSE tournaments. For the most part, we get these teams together in 7 different games. I think we've got now. We've got about 17 teams put together, and they go and compete. And they try to be the best in the country. I don't think we've ever got anywhere close to that.
Yeah,
title.
we're not very good at that, right?
We're not very good at games in general. We're a full fun society, I guess.
Hey, our Rocket League team's doing pretty well.
Our Rocket
Pretty
League
alright for
team did
themselves.
really
Yeah.
well, yeah. We knocked Grey Warwick out of King of the North. We're
You really had to
never
bring that
gonna stop mentioning that one.
up. Immediately bring that up. So
I have to. It was like a highlight of my League of Legends career.
So you are the chairman of the
am.
Salford Esports Society for the 2nd year straight. What exactly is your role as chairman? What do you do around this place?
Officially, delegation is the big word for my role. I have
So give
I have
jobs
a
to other people to
wonderful
do.
committee of people who I get to tell what to do, boss around, that kind of stuff. Mostly, everyone else just thinks I do nothing, which is how I like it. AKA nothing. See, there it is. Someone's coming on the Twitch chat already, calling me doing nothing. But yeah, I've been. I was in the society when it was 6 members, and it's now got 50. So I feel like I had a big part in that. I was the sole committee at one point, pretty much. So.
Whoops. Thanks, Stan, for pointing out that the scenes didn't switch. I'm really good at not doing that. So yeah, I could probably take your job of just not doing things, or just doing them wrong. But so your 2nd year as chairman, you're a 3rd year student. Am I correct? Is that right? You are in your final year.
3rd year, although I did placement year, so this is my 4th year at the uni now.
So it's your final year essentially.
Yeah.
So you've kind of stepped down a little bit from competing regularly. You used to be on our Newell team, when we actually sort of came close to winning things, I guess.
Yeah, my 1st year, I played just on the only team we had pretty much at that point in time, which therefore was the first team, of course.
So, but you've kind of stepped down a little bit from playing and, as you said, taking this more backseat role of not really doing anything.
Every year. In my 2nd year, I played on one of our lower teams because I was worried about. We always worried that if you get too into playing on a team at the University Esports Society while being on the committee, you become a bit too biased. But in the end, it's always turned out that the need for the players is more than the need to watch out for bias. So yeah, played on all sorts of teams. It's been really interesting over my time here.
Yeah, but the other big kind of question about university esports stuff, particularly for someone like you who's in their 3rd year, is you're balancing it out with studying time. And thankfully, we have somebody else here who went through a bit of studying. Medical school, notoriously difficult to maintain yourself in. So, Medic, did you have any sort of experience with esports stuff while you were studying, or did you struggle at any point, or were you involved in anything like that?
So in terms of casting, I cast part-time since 2nd year of uni. So I did quite a lot of gigs and stuff during that sort of time. But I played on my university's new team, the UEA Bunnies, we were called, which is probably the worst name I've ever heard for a esports team. But
I guarantee it's got worse.
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, it has.
Okay. No, I think the balance is always going to be really tough, but it's the same with anything, right? Like if you really want to get into sports, or if you really want to get into writing or drawing or any hobby or anything part-time when you're at uni, it's always going to be hard to find the balance. You just have to work out where your balance is. I think I spent more time playing and watching League of Legends than I did actually studying for my degree at the end of it, which is not something I recommend, but it was just how it ended up working out for me.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say that for 75% of us, that might well be the case. Stan, you're kind of the outlier here. So sorry, this is the section about university esports, but I guess the same themes you can send back to like college, or as you said, starting your own business from a younger age. So, I mean, did esports even exist back then? Talk to me, Stan.
Wow, that's cold. Yeah.
Because
totally,
you're really old, Stan, right?
Okay, all right, okay, chill out.
Wait, how old are you, Stan?
I hit a big birthday this year, you know. It's,
well,
it's a
triple
big number,
digits.
really.
Big 50, yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, no, it's I've been a massive gamer all my life, and esports was sort of just taking off as I was coming out of my teens. And I don't know, what have I been playing League since? I guess since early to mid 20s. I guess no. Well, it came. What did it come out in 2009? I started playing 2011, so yeah, it's early 20s. And yeah, basically it was all my time I wasn't working, which was quite awkward because I got married the year before. So
Yeah, so I actually found an interesting stat a couple of years ago. You know, when all those websites came out where it was like wasted on LoL, like how many hours you've played
Oh no,
of League, stuff like that. Well, I found out that the day that I made my League account was the same day that I started dating Jess.
Oh,
She just
Aw,
gave me
cute.
she just gave me the stupidest look. Like, I love it.
that poor girl.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. But yeah, despite all of the struggles that people have had with studying and balancing it out, and in Josh's case, not doing anything, particularly Salford is the one that we have the most experience with, right? It's the one that we're involved in. But a lot of esports societies are just growing really quickly. There's new members to socialize and compete with. They're expanding out the levels of games. So Rainbow Six Siege has been a pretty big one that's coming recently. A couple of them are looking into things like Dota 2. Rocket League's come in recently as well, and it's really easy to sort of join a society. And if there isn't one at your university, it's easy to set up as well. And talk to me a little bit about what kind of things the society as a whole does, Josh.
I mean, the key point to any of the esports societies is making teams and getting them competing, because I think that's the core of it. Otherwise, you're just a gaming society. You're just playing internally, right?
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, it becomes like your friendship group, right? You gotta get people socializing, having fun. I mean, I look at the socials we're doing now, and there's like a group of 20 to 30 people that come along pretty consistently and just chill and have a good time. And I think that's a super important part of, specifically at uni, like the societies, because you're getting time away from university work. You're getting time where you're not thinking about the constant deadlines and assignments and exams that are upcoming and all that kind of stuff. It's the escape for a lot of members.
Yeah, just taking a little bit of pressure off yourself. And one thing that I know specifically we have been doing a lot more since the time that you came in as chairman, whether or not it's true for other universities around the country, I'm not entirely sure, but we've been doing a lot more sort of inter-university engagement. So it's not just within Salford that we've been doing things. We've made some good friendships with people over at Kiel. University of Manchester, we've done some local lands, things like that. Was there anything like that around in your time, Medic? Were you ever involved in any sort of local things with other universities, or was it just kind of stuck with your own?
Sadly, no. I played in a group of gamers called Tactically Fabulous, which I still think is like one of the best names I've ever had in terms of like groups of people I've been involved with. But they were from Essex and from Norwich and stuff. But it was more of just a group of friends who played together rather than an intramural or an inter university thing. I believe like things have kicked off at UEA, but I think the Mule was one of the main factors for that sort of stuff actually beginning to take flight.
Yeah, UEA, Stan and I have been casting Newell, and they are definitely a name that we've been looking out for, even if they go by.
Good?
Is that the Monkey Cage team?
That is the Monkey Cage.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the new name, Monkey Cage.
Excellent.
They've
One of the
done,
best, aren't
yeah,
they?
they've done really well there. I think were they knocked out in semis or on the losers bracket finals, I believe.
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah, so
Obviously my tutorage has led to that position.
Yeah, that's it. The medic tutorial videos.
Yep.
But yeah, that's kind of a shame. But it's good to hear that they are expanding. And I've even been speaking to a few of the guys from East Anglia Uni. The Cat is a good guy I'd speak to quite a bit at the time. And it's things like that. It's you say we started off doing the Manchester Invitational was kind of the first local, I guess, inter-community stuff that we did. So Josh, talk a little bit about how that got set up and what that actually involved.
That was actually super interesting, because I remember we basically just got approached by one of the professors who runs the Game Lab over at Media City, which is a big gaming sort of festival showing off all the latest science as part of the Manchester Science Festival. And they wanted an esports kind of showcase. And at that point, we were still relatively small. I think we only had like 20 active people at that point. And so we kind of got in contact with University of Manchester and said, we want to do a varsity. So I think varsity is a very traditional thing for universities, and getting it set up with University of Manchester is a really good little regular inter-university event that we can then run. And so getting the actual labs available to us was really important, and letting us do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God, I remember when I first took over the committee, I spent a year emailing the ITS at Salford to try and get a lab that we could play games in, and every time they just shut me down. So finally getting a professor on our side was huge for us. And yeah, we just kind of, so University of Manchester is one of the biggest societies that's been around for a long time, 10 years or something like that. And they kind of had a lot of experience from running King of the North, one of the biggest university events. And so they came along and they pretty much ran the first one, I think. And we just kind of showed up, brought a load of teams. And yeah, I think we got smashed mostly.
Actually, in the first Manchester Invitational, we did pretty well. I remember that. That was when you were playing, and
we won league.
Yeah, we won.
We lost CS:GO,
we won't talk about what happened in the more recent ones, but you brought up King of the North.
Yeah.
That's the recent tournament that happened just a couple of weeks ago. University of Manchester ran it, hosted at the Salford Media City campus, where we have, it's in the same places where they record all the ITV shows like Jeremy Kyle and 8 out of 10 Cats does countdown, stuff like that. So we always get, Coronation Street's just next door as well, so we always see those people wandering around. It's really cool. So it's a good place to have all those kind of facilities and where we can go there. But the King of the North, it's a little bit more than what we would consider just like a local LAN tournament. We've got, just for the recent one, we had Warwick was there for, I think, Counter-Strike and Siege. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought up Siege. There's, never mind. Nottingham was there for League of Legends, and even Swansea. So people come from pretty much all over the country just to compete in this little tournament at our university, which is really nuts. And some of those names are pretty recognizable from Newell, which we've already touched on a little bit. So Stan, since you are my Newell caster buddy, just go over a little bit of what the Newell is and how it works.
So, yeah, you've covered a lot of it already. It's your National University Esports League. It's basically got, over the winter split, we've just cast a lot of teams who are playing out through, what's it called, a Swiss bracket? Is that the right way of saying it?
That's the one, yeah.
So basically, they're all playing each other for supremacy. Top 16 seeded teams went through to a double elimination bracket. Those 6 teams have now qualified for the Varsity League coming in on the spring split, which is sort of the real big deal where you've got the chance to win, even bigger prizes and potentially even trips abroad to represent British universities. And yeah, we've both been involved casting some of the better games, including one massive stomp with the Master Yi boosting strategy.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was Warwick, our boy Kerberos, showing up bigly. So from the perspective of players, Josh, how would you describe the Newell, and Medic as well? You can touch on this as well, since you have actually played. See what the differences are from when you competed to when Josh competed. Who wants to take it?
Medic, I think. Get the old out of the way.
Sorry, Greyheart's already been.
The motto of my life, yeah. I really enjoyed the Newell. I think it was it was such an easy avenue to actually get into competitive league, and the ability just to meet up with a bunch of mates and play games was the big part of it for me. We never really needed to be that invested. We didn't practice outside of the games that we played, but you knew that on a Saturday or Sunday you just have a laugh with your friends, messing around in a pretty competitive environment.
Yeah. So has that changed at all, Josh, or is it still pretty much the same?
I mean, honestly, the core of it is still the same. It's just you've got your team, you go in, you play 3 games in the Sunday evening, and you just kind of have a good time. I mean, since I'm not on the first teams anymore, I don't practice either really. So it's just a bit of fun. I even get paid off roll now, I think. So 10 out of 10 on that one. But yeah, it is just about going along and having fun at this point. I mean, top teams, of course, they do lots of practice, and they have challenger tier players and kind of all these kind of coaches and all that kind of stuff, all that good stuff that you kind of expect from a normal professional team. But at our level, Salford, for fun, the usual.
Yeah, I mean, Salford for fun team, but not all of them. There are some that, as you've already mentioned, have gone on to play in larger stages, UK Masters, Forge of Champions. We brought up Kerberos. There's a few other names we'll touch on a little bit later, but Newell, from the perspective of not the players, but actually sort of the production team, which is where Stan comes in, because me and him have been working on casting for the past few months. So For me, I started casting, as you said, with the Manchester Invitational, which was kind of just a thrown together event with sort of 4 teams and no one really knew what they were doing. But from there, it's sort of moved on pretty rapidly. I think it's been pretty successful so far. So. Dude, I remember your dad watching, and he was like, "I have no idea what's going on, but it sounds great." So let's take it.
Yeah, that was all you. He got into it just from listening to you, my friend.
Oh, learn from the best. Stan didn't know him then, but either way. So, Gray, where did you start casting from? Because we know Medic was doing a couple of little bits during his uni time, but did you start coming in with the voluntary stuff, and where did you go from there?
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of fell in love with casting and the idea of doing it a long time ago. So originally I wanted to be a football commentator when I was like really young, and then my love for video games sort of I ended up merging the two after going to watch. I met up with Quickshot briefly after going to watch the LCS when it came to England, and I was like, wow, this guy's really cool. And so I started practicing casting. At that point, I was just doing a couple of practice casts a day. Then I went to, I think it was Insomnia, where League Fest was on, and this really obnoxious caster cast a game where I was on stage playing against some rioters.
That's Scoundrel, right?
Yeah, that was Scoundrel, and he was also joined by this really good PvP. So he gave me a lot of inspiration and a few tips, bit of feedback on what I was doing, and was one of the people who pointed me in the right direction to start working with a group of people on an organization called Compete League. Which sadly isn't running in Europe anymore due to some EU riots, but was a great place for me to start with my amateur casting. And from there, I got a few different opportunities, both with more voluntary work and some nice paid gigs as well. And my most recent of which was joining up with yourself on the Newell.
It's interesting that you bring up Compete League, because like way back when all that was just an idea that some guy posted on Reddit. I was actually emailing him. Was it like Paul or something? His name was, and I was
probably Liam, I guess.
Yeah, it could have been. But I was just talking most about admin stuff. I hadn't really considered casting at all as an avenue. By the way, people are saying hi, Medic, in the chat. So.
Oh, hello, people in the chat.
Hi, people in the chat. There we go. But did you ever get involved? I don't know if they ever actually streamed this, but you remember they used to do those Go for LOL tournaments. Do you remember those? Like way back.
I do not.
Oh man.
Oh, you don't? Those are classic, man. I remember working 10-hour shifts covering Go for LOLs.
Oh god. Yeah, so never got involved in that, dodged that bullet. But from there, the sort of next step from doing that kind of voluntary level stuff is you've got independent tournaments. Bigger one for the UK would be something like Insomnia. And I know, Stan, you've had a little bit of experience casting an Insomnia event, is that right?
Yeah, I got to do my first live Insomnia event in, I think it was end of August. Fantastic time. I joined up with a couple of other quality British casters, Hiprain and Orcs. We were casting the UK Masters event that was on there. Yeah, it was terrific fun.
Yeah, no way. So those guys have made a bit of a name for themselves, and yeah, it is a pretty good way. It's like an avenue to get involved on a bit of a larger scale, and I mean, it's always good. You can just go down and volunteer for a bit of work. I did some voluntary work for the Counter-Strike ECS Season 6 live finals in the Wembley Arena. And that was the first time that I'd gone to like a professionally run event, and I was like, Jesus, this is actually insane just how much work goes into this. Obviously, it's probably a couple of steps above Insomnia for a tournament of that level, but I mean, just speaking to the people who are all there who do this kind of stuff as a job is just crazy. And but what a coincidence. Here's another one now. Look, hi, Medic. You again. Hi. So, for you, taking the casting from kind of a hobby or passion to an actual career, how did that exactly come for you? You started off with, is it Vainglory were you casting?
Yeah.
As well?
It's actually a bit of a weird transition. Basically, I got to the end of final year, the first year of being a doctor, like working in a hospital, and I realized that like I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I would, and I had enough offers for like small gigs that I could pay myself a decent wage for the next year, working on the events that I'd been offered already. So I quit medicine and then stayed, basically worked from home as a freelancer for a year before getting picked up by, for about 4 months before getting picked up by Riot to do Challenger Series. But yeah, like I think it was Vainglory that I started with. I did some Hearthstone, I did some CSGO, I did a lot of League, and Basically,
Jesus,
I
Jess.
worked every single event that would pay me money to work, and then I managed to sneak my foot in the door with Riot and talk to Trevor, and he was like, "Oh, we want you for Challenger Series," so it just developed from there.
Just real quick before we move on, what's your opinion in play-by-play casting for Hearthstone? I have a friend.
What do you mean? Like, should it exist? Probably not. Like, in all honesty.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we've confirmed it. So Ollie,
I know, but like, it's fun, right? It's fun. I had the guy I cast with, this guy called Lorinda, and he said that it was what he thought was his best cast for the year because basically, I was a child, and he just explained how to play the game to me, and it sounded really good to like anyone who was watching because it was basic enough that you could understand the mechanics, but complex enough because he would go into depth. So I think there is a role for the lovable idiot on a Hearthstone cast.
if anyone can play the lovable idiot, it's Ollie Shouts. Surely it has to be him. No, but
Definitely.
even if Vainglory didn't end up like really working out for you, there's a lot of transferable skills, right? They're not. It's a completely different platform, obviously, but in terms of the actual gameplay, MOBA style games, it's not too dissimilar. So did that kind of help you when you were getting into your EU Challenger as that sort of first big break?
Oh, definitely. I think like with most casting, the majority of the skills are transferable. Especially for play-by-play, like you're thinking of tonality, volume changes, exactly how you want to play-by-play each fight, what's your flow like, when are you hitting certain narrative points, how often do you want to bring them back up, when do you check into state of the game, like all of these things I could do for CSGO, I could do for League, you can do for Hearthstone, like you don't actually need it to be even a MOBA for it to be transferable. Obviously, it helps that MOBA to MOBA, I can think of like timing points and you talk more about item builds and stuff, but the majority of casting is just talking well and telling a story with the narratives that you use, and I think that transfers across any esport.
And Josh, you did your first sort of realm into casting at last Manchester Invitational, alongside Morgan doing League of Legends. How did you find that?
I really enjoy casting. It's something I want to do, I think, more once I've finished uni. The problem is I've always loved playing more than I've loved casting because of the highs you get from when you win. And I think while I can still play and then you're still being a student, I wanted to continue doing that. I'm definitely looking forward to kind of giving it a go once I'm done some more, you know?
Yeah. So I think basically what we're taking away from this is the point of just take the opportunities as they come, essentially. So obviously, you spent your time studying medicine, wasn't really ideal. So you've had this opportunity to get in the Challenger Series. And I mean, today, is there even a Challenger Series to cast? I mean, there's the Academy League, but I don't know exactly how that's going to be working out.
In EU, it no longer exists. Challenger Series got wrapped up when I joined LCS, so 2017. 2018. We're in 2018 now. Yeah. Okay. Start of 2018. So I've been on holiday for like 2 months. Timing is it doesn't exist for me anymore.
Tough life, real tough life.
I know, incredibly hard.
Yeah, must be an absolute struggle. But I mean, how has things changed since you got into casting professionally? We see a lot of, you consider gaming usually as a bit of a hobby that you kind of do in your spare time, which for the majority of us, like 75% of us here, it is. But then you've got you who's doing gaming related stuff as a profession, so it's kind of your full time. So how have things changed, and how much of an impact has it had on you?
Do you want like how it's affected me specifically, or how it
the landscape you specifically changed? You're the special guest.
I think I find it really tough sometimes because, and this is such a first world problem, right? Like I have no one I talk to who doesn't game all the time. And I know that sounds really weird and it shouldn't be a bad thing, but I go to work, I talk about computer games for 9 hours, 10 hours. I come home, I talk about computer games for a bit more. I watch people play computer games and I talk about how they're talking about the computer games while I'm watching them play the computer games. And League is fun. I love the game, right? I'll play tons of hours of it and I enjoy playing other games as well. But at some point you do need a hobby to get away from the thing that used to be your hobby. And that's what I'm learning at the moment. Because before it was like, you work at university, you go into work and then you come home to your hobby. And at most you can dedicate 5 or 6 hours to it because you have work. But now I can dedicate 24 hours to it. And I need to realize that that's too much. You need something to distract yourself, even though you used to use gaming as your distraction. So
yeah, so we typically see, just looking at your Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you do a lot of reading stuff. So
I try to, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one little sideway. Another one that you see actually a lot when people get into professional gaming esports stuff is just living healthier lifestyles in general. So I mean, we've seen a lot of like complete body transformations from a lot of people who've got involved, whether it be actually as a player and or as casting or whatever. And obviously you with your medical background, you already knew a thing or two about health, which sort of plays into a question that Ollie, the lovable idiot, who he asked me to bring up the question of how do you look so handsome on stream?
On stream,
Yes.
a lot of makeup, tailored suits that the company gets for us, and just genes really. I'm an incredibly attractive person, and I think that you can't aspire to be like me because I'm the next level. It's a once in a generation beauty, really.
Yeah. Would you recommend?
The painful thing is, I've met him and he's not wrong.
No, I'm memeing. Like, so a lot of it is how you hold yourself on cast as well, right? Like, if I've gone to the gym in the morning, I know I'm more confident, and so my head will be higher, my chest will be out. Like, there's so many different things you can do with the camera that actually make you look a lot more in control, a lot more confident in the situation. It's like just doing your hair, making sure you wear a suit that fits well, making sure that you pull your shoulders back, making sure that you stand straight. Like, all of these things actually do have an impact. And I was talking to Trevor about this a while ago for like Instagram photos, and he said to me, I take like 15 photos and I go through all of the different motions and I think about exactly how I want to position myself. And it sounds really arrogant and really self-centered, but in a world where like the way that you look on the camera that's my product, right? My product is how I look and how I talk. It's not bad to spend 30 minutes thinking about exactly how you're going to look when you stand in front of the camera.
So what you're saying is casting is essentially just a glorified Instagram model with a
Pretty
little
much,
bit of
right?
voice on the
Like,
side.
I whore out my voice and the way that I look to companies, and they pay me money for it.
Fair enough. But anyway, back to the actual topic of like the healthy lifestyle stuff. So just look at some professional players. I mean, Sven, Matt from Golden Guardians, Team Liquid, his transformation was like nuts. And then you've got people like Broxer who are just buff. At this point, it's just scary. But then look at people like Zyrene, people who aren't even, in these professional gaming houses where they have things like life coaches who can dietitians, things like that. He went through a ridiculous transformation, and probably one of the best examples. I don't know if you're familiar, you say Counter-Strike scene too much. A few years back, there was a player called Semphis. If you look at his transformation images just in the space of like a couple of years, it's been a couple of years since those images have all come out, but it's ridiculous. This guy used to be like Gragas and now he's like Jin, like super skinny. It's crazy. But on the subject of transformations, segue, we're looking at the UK League of Legends scene. It's coming a little bit more prevalent, a little more structured. You're seeing things like the British Esports Association that's taking esports into schools, where we know Tash from University of Manchester, Newell, is involved in that, and it's sort of opening doors for a younger audience. And as you said, Newell as well has been going through some changes to their structure. It's going into, you said it's a varsity division, but I can see some parallels between that and the franchising that's been going on in the professional scene. So, Gray, explain a little bit of the changes that's gone through to Newell this season. But unmute yourself first.
Yeah, I totally got that right. Don't worry. So, if I'm honest, I think you might be in a better place to answer this one because I'm slightly new coming into Newell, so I'm seeing what there is now. I don't actually know exactly what's changed.
Okay, Josh, you used to play in it. You do it. Because I don't know. This is my first
so the
year
biggest
team.
things that I've noticed the difference is that with NSE coming in this year, there's competition which has really pushed them to up their game in terms of production quality and in terms of actual like prizes for the competitions as well. That's something I noticed. Top 16 all get prizes now, as opposed to before where it was just like top 1 or 2 would get a prize, usually going somewhere to compete in another international tournament. That kind of stuff is it's not that it's just a kind of growth thing over time. As they've gotten bigger, as they've gotten better, everything else has gotten bigger and better with it, I think. And you can kind of see that in anything to do with League of Legends. Even things like the LCS broadcasts have gotten much, much higher quality over the last couple of years. So,
are you saying there's a parallel between the quality of the broadcast and Medic being hired?
Fnatic made World Finals when I was hired. I'm just saying. Same year.
They also lost World Finals.
Yeah, but we can't have everything, okay? Like, I can only do so much.
They looked so good going into it. I was on the hype train. It was coming home. I'm so sad.
Unfortunately, it didn't. But what will be coming home is the Newell Finals. I think we're kind of overlapping with their show match right now, so whoops, my bad. But who cares? Because, I mean, the two champions, it was split into a North and South League this year. Is that a new thing? Did do that before? I'm not entirely sure.
They've always split it up into regions. A couple of years ago, it was split up into, I think, 4 or 5 different regions. They've kind of reduced it down a lot.
Okay, so it's been split down into a North and South, and then the top 16 not only win prizes, but in the next split they'll be playing in the Varsity Division, which is essentially kind of like the UK University Premier League, where it's all the top recognizable names from universities, obviously Grey Warwick, Monkey Cage, teams that you'll recognize, players you'll recognize, and it gives exposure to some of the top UK university talents, which is really good. And in the last year, the grand prize overall for taking home the spring split, I believe, was representing the UK in the no, I always get this wrong. It's not EU Masters, it's UE Masters, right? University something Masters. But it was the team from Exeter that ended up going there to Tenerife, and they came in 4th, which is pretty respectable out of the amount of teams there. And one of the teams that defeated them was the Portuguese team, who I actually casted, and they went on like an undefeated run all the way to the finals, which was nuts. But it's really cool just to see players that we recognize and we speak to on like a day-to-day kind of thing, just going on and taking that next step into actually not quite professional, but at least semi-professional or at least amateur league playing, which is really cool. But on the subject of amateur, what... Medic, just briefly explain what the hell Red Bull Itemania was.
Oh yeah, that's a great event. I've done it. I did it last year, and I'm doing it this year as well. I did it this year as well. Basically, it's an event in Switzerland where they invite 4 teams from around Europe, like relatively high tier teams, usually from the regional leagues. And at the start of the event, they have 12 item sets, and each team has 1,000 gold, and each item set is auctioned. And then each of the items in the game are split into these item sets. So what ends up happening is you have teams that have like no jungle items, so they can't build any jungle items, and they end up having like a jungler who's like really hamstrung, or you have a team that only has AD items, so they can only build attack damage. And it's actually really fun to watch. It's very much a meme, but it's good fun. I go over to Switzerland for a weekend and have a bit of a whale of a time over there. That's the sort of event I think we need more of, and I think with Riot having such control over the league events, I don't think we'll see as much of, but I actually really enjoy that sort of thing.
Yeah, and missing the pentakill in the first game was cool too.
Yeah, well, okay, look, casting is difficult, and
no, it's not. I can do it.
That doesn't make it's like casting well is difficult. Sorry, my mistake.
Wow. Okay, so before things get too heated, we'll take a step back from the international stuff a little bit. So, Gray, you and I casted the UK Scouting Grounds that was hosted by XL Esports about a month ago or something like that, where we had a little bit of a mishap on the stream. I won't lie. Actually, no, that was a Swiss one. So I'm getting confused.
Yeah, the Swiss
cast it to it again. The Swiss one was the mishap. So we'll skirt around that conversation. We've talked about Switzerland now, but.
I mean, go out and find that clip if you can find it. It's out there on Twitter somewhere. Myself and Saga are both linked in it. It's probably the funniest thing that's happened to me on stream.
No, just don't. we'll pass on
find
that.
it.
Okay, but so when we casted the UK Scouting Grounds, there was some familiar names there, right? We've talked about some of these top teams having recognizable players. We brought up Kerberos, and while we were casting this, the Scouting Grounds, there was some familiar names that actually did really well there. You had Kiao, who was actually off-rolling. I think he was playing support in the Scouting Grounds. He plays mid in Newell. You got Yusa, Mr. AD Carry, who made a showing in the finals and unfortunately wasn't able to take it home. Nor was Nolty, who was also in the finals. But, it's some players who we recognize, and players who, not specifically them, but their team have been defeated by Josh and co. Isn't that right, Josh?
That is the highlight of my life, I tell you.
You took down Grey Warwick in a tournament that took...
It was a best of one. The stars aligned for my ragtag group of silvers and golds that I put together that day. A lot of things went very right that really shouldn't have, and I think the format of the qualifier was a bit scuffed to let that kind of situation happen. But in the moment, I was the happiest man on this planet.
But I mean, I messaged Prince Philip while you were playing, and I was like, please don't beat them too hard. They bruise easy. They're squishy. And he was like, they're just smashing us. And I was like, wait, really? I'd spectate the game.
I remember talking to my team that morning and saying, there's no chance of us going through. Let's just have fun. And I think the fact that we got so relaxed just meant that we played actually fairly well.
Bearing in mind,
very out of character. Very out of character.
Yeah, it was only 2/5 of the Grey Warwick team, and their top player, who we are talking about, wasn't actually there. But
was it just 2/5 of the players? Like they only actually had 2 players on the team? Was that how they did it?
It might as well have been. Trust me, it wasn't pretty. But no,
I think possibly the key aspect was the fact that their AD carry had played a bunch of games that day and lost all of them, and was probably quite tilted before the game even started.
Yeah,
when we got a cheese level 1 coin on him, he wasn't very happy.
Disgusting gameplay. But so anyway, back to the topic at hand of players who belong in the top UK scene and not people who off-roll on Thresh and have one good game. So several of the players who we saw at the scouting grounds and who appear in Newell, they've already competed actually in sort of top level UK competition. Forge of Champions, UK Masters, we've seen a few familiar names there. And this year, with the changes to the franchising and LVP coming in and running the UK League, things have gotten a lot stronger in terms of the competition for the sort of amateur semi-pro level in the UK. Does anyone have any particular knowledge on that? Has anyone done any research, anything like that?
I mean, we've obviously, like you say, we've both had the opportunity to cast a fair amount, whether it be in the university side of things. I also got involved with Arena Clash, which is something cool, which it used to belong sort of, it's under games umbrella now, but or perhaps always was. But between that, obviously LVP at the higher stages, there are just so many opportunities in the UK right now. And as a caster, it's great to be involved with Newell and with other things as well. But as a player, there's just so many opportunities there's a reason why we're knowing all these names, because they're showing up big in tournament after tournament and all these different events. As long as people like your Kerberos and Nulties, as long as they keep performing there, I think it's only a matter of time before we finally get some really good UK talent back in the LEC.
Yeah, and bearing in mind that LVP UK recently announced there was the 9 teams that will be competing in their UK league, and people have been digging around a little bit in the rules, and it says that they have to have 3 UK resident players to be eligible to play in that league, which is a really, really good sign for UK players, right? So there's essentially going to need to be 27 UK players that will be able to fit in and make this league happen. You get a couple of imports every now and then. So even if they're not competing, or even if they're not winning, essentially, even in that league, it's going to be really good just to go against other talents and just essentially work hard to improve themselves. And one of the teams that we see in the UK league is Salford Esports, and they've come into LEC, well, I was going to say LCS, but they've come in with this ethos of sort of harboring UK talent. Essentially, they built a roster around Kasing, and they want to build people up. So it'll be interesting to see what direction they take for their academy team and how it will play into developing some UK players.
I think they've announced quite a few of their players, haven't they?
I think so, and a lot of them do have pretty I don't want to sound Brexity here, but non-English sounding names.
Yeah, I haven't looked up the LVP rules about the 3 native players. So I don't know a huge amount about that, but in their 10-man roster, they have Kasing and Kadril are the 2 UK-based players, as far as I know.
Yeah, I know other teams who are in the league, like M&M, Molotovs and Marshmallow. LVP is just like a list of teams that Vedius has played for, I swear, at this point. But no, I looked through their roster, and it does have some players who aren't maybe English by nationality, but they do count as a UK resident player because they haven't played in a league in another country. So
that makes sense.
So it could be something similar to that. So
yeah,
so rookie players getting residency in their initial league. But however it works out, it's going to be a really good chance for some UK talents to work hard again, improve, compete, and prove that they can hang if they want to try and ever make their way to the big stage, which leads us to the LEC, the
I just
upcoming
want to say
season.
that the fact that you just said they should prove they can hang is probably my favorite moment of this
Yeah,
podcast.
dude, they got to hang with the big boys.
Yo, fellow kids, let's hang.
Dude, if Greyheart said it, it would be weird, but come on.
Wow. Come on.
I'm probably like the second youngest person here. I think. Am I older than you, Josh? How old are you?
No.
How old
I'm
are you?
22
21.
going on 23 in a month.
Wait, you're 21?
Yeah,
Why is your email address ended 91?
I just picked a number.
That's so misleading. God damn, actually scammed. Okay, so I'm the second oldest, so I guess it's fine for you to call me out on that. But
Am I still the oldest?
yeah,
Always.
I'm also 27. Like being 21 and having
God
finished med school, worked as a doctor, and quit.
yeah. See,
Would be pretty impressive.
I thought,
So,
okay, so you did lie.
yeah, so I was just messing with you.
Fantastic. I'm glad I caught that
apologize.
and didn't make myself look like a moon.
I wasn't down to
I see.
hang. I apologize.
Right. Okay. Well.
That's never been lived down.
All right. But let's see if Vedius will live down this particular tweet, because I've got on our little sheet, hopefully you guys have had this open so you know what we're talking about, his power ranking predictions for the LEC from the preseason. So, just to go through for people who don't have this up on the stream, G2 Esports in first, Vitality second, Misfits third, Fnatic fourth, Splice fifth, Origin sixth, Schalke 04 seventh, Excel in eighth, Rogue in ninth, and SK Gaming in 10th, with a couple of question marks because I don't think they've actually announced a player yet for their roster. So is there anything about that particularly stands out as like, I don't agree with that, or yes, I think that is bang on the money?
I mean, should we first talk about the G2 perks role swap?
We'll get into
I
that.
think
We'll get into
if
that.
you put G2 Esports at number one, you have to. I find it hard to put that there without knowing or ever seeing Perks as in his new role.
I'm gonna do a favor to Vedi here and add the clarifier. He did say this is for the first 4 weeks of the split. This is not like an end result of the LEC spring, so I can see why you would put G2 high.
Yeah,
because
just
you're
based on
saying,
previous kind of
you're
synergy.
saying Perks and Caps are good players. They don't have to settle that much because they've already played in the LCS last year. There's probably a lot of camaraderie there. The team looks good. Yeah, they'll probably be pretty good, right? That's kind of the argument that you have here.
Always got Vedius's back, doesn't it? I'd love to see it. But yeah, we'll talk about individual teams and our expectations for them in just a quick second. But is there anything about the particular tier list in and of itself that stands out to anyone here, or do you all pretty much in agreement?
If I had to pick one that I think is going to finish higher than that, I think Schalke are going to do a lot better than that. And even on the first 4 weeks, I think they'll come in strong.
Why exactly do you think that? What stands out to them that makes them above a 7th place team, a playoffs contender?
That is a great question. Nothing especially. I guess it's a gut instinct, just mixed with also what I've seen about them coming into the new split. I mean, they've retained a decent number of their players who were pretty strong last time. So
they've only retained Upset.
Oh, did they? I thought
Yeah.
ADC name dropping out of my head.
That is Upset.
Yeah.
Not okay. Then not ADC name. Well, ADC name was dropping out of my head. Who
Yeah,
is it?
they have
There was someone
Odo,
else. I was sure they were
Odo
keeping. That was
Memento, Abaddage, Upset Ignar. is
Right.
their
Okay.
lineup.
Okay. That's complete. Yeah. Slightly different to what I thought it was. In which case, still sounds reasonable, but maybe wouldn't push them above 7th.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, if they got Blitzcrank every game and Ignar did his world
Bring
championship
further of
things-
battle back and he's fine, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, potentially.
I think if like just the couple that stick out to me, I'd put Misfits higher. I think Misfits will be top 1, top 2, and I'd probably move Origin above Splice. Purely on, I think Origin's roster is slightly better than Splice's roster.
Yeah. So you kind of touched a little bit. You expect Misfits to be top 1 or top 2. So essentially, the consensus so far throughout most of the community is the top spot contenders will be between G2, Fnatic, Misfits, and Vitality, depending on how they all mesh together with their new additions to their rosters. And we'll start with G2 because Josh obviously wanted to talk about perks and role swapping. So, Josh, what's your opinion? Perks AD carry?
I mean, from what I've seen of his op.gg, he has been tearing up the challenger tier at the moment. But I always struggle to rate a team when they've got a complete wild card in it, and that wild card being that he has swapped roles. I mean, we've seen that he's a mechanical god, so it's not a bad role for him to move to. But
yeah,
it is scary. I think
he has.
Can I interject slightly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Is that, I disagree with him being a complete wild card. I understand where you're coming from, but he's played Funnel, he's played Lucian. Like, we have seen him play AD carries. Yes, he hasn't played them in the bottom lane, but I think that if you give me perks in an AD carry role over a new AD carry, or even over like some of the lower tier AD carries, I'll take perks every day of the week without him ever having practiced the AD carry role. Like, I'd take him probably over Hiku. I'd take him over. We actually have some really good AD carries. Holy shit! I'd probably take him over Kobe sometimes as well, and maybe even over Patrick at his current form. Sheriff changed his name to Patrick. Like, I'd take perks. He is a top 5 EU player. Never mind what role he's in.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. But there is a lot of very good ADCs in the region.
Yeah, I'm just looking at them now. I was like, who do I rate him above? Not as many people as I thought.
and they're a bit more proven. That's my point. I still think G2 is going to be a very, very good team. I mean, we've seen Caps and Yankos and all these kind of people doing really, really well, both nationally and internationally now. So it's not a question mark of a team. It's just the question mark of the role that I've got.
Yeah.
So we're bringing up players that have history and have proven themselves to have prowess on the stage. But Fnatic, the big question mark there is the rookie mid laner they've brought in to replace Caps. They brought Nemesis in. People haven't seen him before on the big stage, so anyone have any thoughts on how that's going to play out?
I've actually cast him a couple of times in EU Masters. He played for Mad Lions. He's a good player. Like, he was, whenever we researched him, everyone talked about him being the next, big EU mid, like Caps, like Perks, like Expeke. I think in spring he didn't perform to that level when they got beaten by Origin in the semi-final. In summer, like, he's good. I'm sure mechanically he's got a little bit more than he showed us. He played a lot of Galio, but he is positioning as well. His communication with the team looked good. I think he could be a very good mid laner. I don't think he's near Caps or Perks level yet. I'd put him like middle of the pack, 4th, 5th, 6th mid laner from what I've seen.
It's pretty consistent with where Vedius has got him.
It's also worth mentioning that Fnatic have time and time again brought in these rookies and then got them to an absolute top tier level. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So with a little bit of time, Fnatic will definitely be a top contender, considering the majority of their roster hasn't actually changed that much. They've got rid of Soaz as well, but Bwipo has been pretty consistently strong in the top lane. And yeah, obviously these power rankings that Vedius has put out, as you mentioned, is between weeks 1 and 4. So maybe after that, Fnatic start to find their feet a little bit and climb back to the top. But
can we just expand on that point slightly? Like, do we actually think Fnatic are going to be able to challenge for the top of this league? Because I look at their roster and I say, yeah, Whippo's a really good top laner. Box is a strong jungler, but he's not a hard carry jungler in the same way that some of the other junglers are. Nemesis is a good mid. Is he ever going to be better than Caps? I think that's an important question. Is he going to be better than Forbiven when Forbiven finds his form? Is he going to be better than Jizuke? Like, I think Fnatic have actually downgraded. I think they are a worse team than they were last year with this roster. And I think it will probably take 6 months to a year before they get up to anywhere near the level they were at before.
Yeah, like no World Finals this spring.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make Worlds this year.
Wow, that's a claim that not many people would have expected, but sure, I will take it. So,
is there a team that you'd like maybe call like your sleeper team? Like, you look at them and go, I've not seen those players play together, but actually I think individually they can be pretty excellent if they show up and they could be good. For me, it's probably Rogue.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can see Rogue. It depends how sleepy you're looking, right? Like, I agree that Rogue are a strong team. I really don't rate Hiku as a high level AD carry. So to me, I think AD carry is a really important role in terms of how far a team can go. I'd probably put Origin as my sleeper team. Like, I think people expect Misfits, G2, Vitality, and Fnatic to do well. I think Origin have a really strong roster. And assuming Nuke Duck plays well and Patrick performs as well as I think he can, they could challenge for the top spots.
They could,
yeah,
but
disagree with that.
On the subject of your top spots, you called Misfits challenging for top 1 and 2. We've already touched on the return of Febiven from the hellhole of NA, so he can actually start playing like an actual player with hands again.
Come back to a real league.
The money hellhole.
Talk a little bit about the other changes to Misfits. So they brought Gorilla in. That's actually a really big name to be bringing into a EU team. Any thoughts?
Does anyone know how good Gorilla's English is?
Really good. He's almost fluent.
Then that's going to be a really strong team.
Yeah, and
that was my only worry about that team was communication, and if that's not a problem, then
yeah,
I mean they're just so strong individually.
They've
let
taken
alone
Soaz as well from the Fnatic as well. So again, time and time again, proven player. So overall, just an incredibly strong roster, I think. So
I think on paper, Misfits roster looks the strongest to me.
Yeah.
So just finally, what about Vitality's roster? Because they actually didn't make many changes compared to a lot of the other teams. The big one is they replaced Kikis with Mowgli from the Afrika Freaks. So another Korean import, but can you call that anything other than an upgrade? Like, has Mowgli been particularly terrible in Korea? I doubt it, since he made second place. So that to me seems like an upgrade. So it makes sense that Vedius has got him in his second place spot, because I think they're going to be a really strong team.
Yeah, I think it's a huge upgrade. Like, Kikis is a good player, but he didn't revolutionize jungling or didn't really change that much for Vitality. He was just a consistent jungler. It was the same with Gilius. So, like, if his level 2 gank didn't work, Gilius kind of sucks. So having Mowgli here, who has shown consistently that he's one of the best junglers, not only in Korea, but probably in the world, I think you're in a really good spot with that team. I wonder if they will have the same impact as they did last year, because teams now know a lot more about them and can read them a bit more and aren't going to underestimate them. But I still think you're looking at a top spot contender.
Even if your mid laner can't quite 1v1 Faker, he tried.
He was so close.
So close. A couple of times. But so taking a very, very brief look at sort of the other end of the bracket, we'll just touch very briefly, since, you know, we are UK based in terms of heritage, not exactly location, Mr. living in Germany, but XL Esports and their approach to the LEC, it's kind of different to what we see in a lot of teams have been coming in for this new franchised league, which, by the way, has some amazing graphic design. I really love it. All of the new graphics and the
just you wait. It's gonna be amazing. Oh, man,
it's
so good.
I'm actually excited, but yeah, they're bringing in this 10-man roster. They're talking about developing UK talent, so they brought in, you say, Kasing and Kadril, and then a bunch of players whose names sound suspiciously similar to the XL Esports. So you got like Expect and Exiler. It's like it's going to be hell for you. So yeah, best of luck with that. But so what do we think about their approach? I can imagine that it could either go really well. They could be a sleeper team because there's a lot of names that people haven't necessarily seen perform for at least a long time, if not at all before, with the exception obviously of like Kasing. Or it could kind of crash and burn. How are we feeling? What end of the spectrum are we on here? Dan?
I'm never a massive fan of like the whole 10-man roster not being massively clear on who your starters are. I like the consistency that you get from having sort of 5 set players, then 1 or 2 subs. I think that it needs to become clear really, really quickly what their starting lineup is, what they're going with. And if I look at that and go who I consider to be like the top 5 players on there, I think it's a decent team, but I don't think it's anywhere near challenging for even the top 5 spaces.
Anyone else got any?
Traditionally, when we've seen a 10-man roster, though, there's been like one clearly better player, and then like a rookie who's coming in, and it kind of seems like their goal is to replace them eventually once they decide to retire. Whereas I think this roster looks to me like they could actually be constantly competing, and that might drive up talent more than if they were just guaranteed the role.
Yeah, you saw swapping out players work actually really well, whether it just be on a performance basis like it was with Cloud9, or whether it was just who fits the team better, you know, with like the Soaz Bwipo swapping. It's definitely a powerful tool to have. It's just whether or not they're going to be able to individually perform on the same level, as we have a whole bunch of imports being brought into the scene this year, a whole lot more Koreans in EU than we've seen before. So the level of competition has increased tenfold. So it's going to depend a lot on just how good XL proved to be at, you know, developing talent in a similar vein as how Fnatic seems to be taking
I
the
do find it
approach.
weird. It does feel like we have more imports this year for LEC, but actually, if you look at it in terms of playing imports, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Korean players, and that's the extent of imports in LEC across 50 players or so. I still think Europe is probably the best region for like homegrown talent.
No
I also
NA
think
imports.
XL. I think they could get 6. Like if the team performs and each individual performs at the level I know they can, I think they could challenge for 6th spot, but I don't think they're going to go any higher.
Yeah. So it could potentially be pushing for the bottom
bottom
end
of
of
the
a
playoffs,
playoffs run. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a really good start for a team that is
Exactly.
taking the approach of developing talent, which you can actually do now with the new franchising in place,
Mhm.
where you're not in the threat of being relegated down to the challenger scene, which doesn't exist anymore. So there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's wonderful. So, does anyone have any other teams they would particularly want to talk about or anything stand out to them? I think we probably have about 10 minutes spare after this. So if anyone in the Twitch chat has any questions, drop them in and we'll see if we have time to answer any of those. But
Has there been any crazy coaching swaps? Because I think that's actually as important as the players at this point.
Dylan Falco left Fnatic. He's with Schalke, so I guess that's a big one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I think Fnatic are using Young Buck still, but from what I've heard before, Young Buck was a key part of their coaching strategy anyway.
He does, but he needs to delete Twitter.
Sure, yeah. I
Well,
can say that about a lot of people.
That's true.
I guess the coaching change. There you go. There's your argument for why Schalke might be a good team there, Greyheart. If you want to just jump on that one, just claim that one for your own.
Schalke, they're going to be amazing. I've said it all along. Upset best ADC.
Okay, so
Sure.
completely ignore the.
Right.
Right.
But Dylan Falco never really seemed like the guy that had the biggest impact at Fnatic, to me at least.
Never a day law. That was.
Yeah, it wasn't a day lot. I think Jez's for Misfits is a big one as well. Like it's the first time he's in a head coach position, and with so many strong voices on that team. Like you've got Soaz and Maxlaw, and I think Forbidden's a relatively strong voice as well. You wonder if he'll be drowned out a little bit. But if that team performs, then they're going to perform really well. But if they start losing, I wonder if they might just implode.
And Febiven doesn't strike me as the player that would take like too well to being talked over at like every opportunity. He's shown to have a little bit of a temperament. Definitely not the worst defender for it by any means, but still he's had his moments. But okay, so Juicy Viking in the Twitch chat is asking where do we rank Origin? I almost like stuttered and made that way more awkward. But where do we rank?
Where do we what?
Where are we ranking Origin?
Who's going first?
Maybe the Procaster.
Yeah, Vedius has got them in
We're all
sixth.
podcasters there, man.
Apart from
I'm
Josh.
not.
Josh
Oh, that's true.
Josh is just a pro
In my heart,
slacker.
you are,
I'm
Josh.
just a tag along. I'm the fourth wheel here.
I mean, you need the fourth wheel. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise
Yeah,
it's
unless we're on a
like,
tricycle.
Fourth wheel is a good wheel.
Yeah.
There you go. Mr. Fourth Wheel. Give us your opinion. Origin.
I played against Miffy on the last day before the off season came in, and he was one of the reasons I lost and didn't get to Diamond this season. So I'm pretty salty.
So you're rating them like last place just out of spite?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I like Newt Duck. I think he's always been a really mechanically good player, but he's just never had a good opportunity to shine. Partially because he got banned for like a year. I'm pretty sure. So.
Damn, Greyheart. Could you imagine not getting Diamond this season? How embarrassing would that be?
Feels
It would
bad.
be
I'm
really
just
embarrassing,
like
actually.
really glad I'm not Iron at this point.
I
Like, they
mean,
brought that out, and I just saw my name written all over it.
Ironheart.
Didn't a bunch of challenger players get moved to
Yeah,
Iron
Yeah.
as soon as the new thing came out?
Rush got
I think
placed.
Iron's the place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where you get all
Sure.
the good games.
I really enjoy having to go through 5 divisions to get back to where I belong.
Belong.
Coming back to the Origin thing, I rank them. If Sheriff or Patrick, whatever his name is, becomes the AD carry that he should be, and Mithy doesn't hard int, I think they're top 4. I think if Mithy plays like he did in NA, I think they're bottom 3.
What is it with EU supports going over to NA,
Yeah,
specifically TSM, and then just becoming trash?
I know, right? It just seems to be what we do.
Yellow
Sing did it.
Star.
I
Yellow
wonder if
Star
it's
did
NA
it.
or I wonder if it's TSM or.
I think it's NA just generally. Like that league is just debatably
Extreme.
bad.
Okay, here's a quick little question. Jesus, I just highlighted everyone. I don't know how I did that, but is there any players, like individually, who you were surprised haven't made an appearance on any teams or have been picked up, but for an academy team instead? I know for NA you've got Acadian who's playing in academy, and he was pretty good. All right, he was all right throughout NA LCS, but he's down in the depths of academy. So is there anyone in a similar position? I've seen Selfie's name brought up a couple of times.
Hasn't Selfie got picked up for NA?
Could have been. Good question.
I think he
I
did.
don't read Reddit.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, I don't know all of the academy teams in NA, so
The one that stands out to me is I've got to thank the Twitch chat for this one for bringing it up, but is Larson. So I watched him and Cadril playing in the League First event and have sort of been slightly following what they've been up to. That sounded a lot worse than it was meant to. For the last sort of couple of years since that event, and was really pleased to see where kind of things are going for Cadril. And I actually really thought Larson would get picked up by someone.
Yeah, I can see that.
What about Betsy? I've seen Betsy spoken a couple times.
Like he didn't seem strong enough for me. Yeah, Selfie's on FlyQuest Academy, by the way. I also think Larson decided not to play for an LEC team. I'm reading his tweet longer at the moment. I think he decided to finish school this season, which is probably why he didn't go. In the end, I went with the decision I felt most happy with. Half a year from graduating, it will be the best day of my life, being able to completely let go of school and then do what I want to do. But yeah, he decided not to play for an LEC or academy team this year.
Respectable, making the
obviously wasn't slyly stalking him well enough.
making the
someone mentioned
decision.
Levi, but he's going to LPL. So.
Yeah, that's actually quite surprising, dude. I mean, 100 Thieves. I don't know what they're doing, man. They have so many good players in their roster, and they're just like, yeah, you can just go somewhere else. We're not going to play you. We're gonna take like Brandini or something over.
I mean, have you seen their roster now? Though they look like one of the strongest in NA. Yeah. Like someday under who he bang Afremu. Holy flip! Like the reason that they have to let Levi go is they have 2 Koreans, right? So you can't play Levi. But that roster to me is assuming they play well, like top of the table easily. I don't see anyone challenging them.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe Echo Fox.
But then again, it's NA, so who knows what happens?
Yeah.
It could
and Liquid are really good now as well. Holy shit!
Yeah, Liquid
good
with Jensen, Cordeja. Yeah, that's a really
even Clutch look good. Imagine if Piglet plays like a real person again.
It's been about 5 years. I don't know, dude.
He's a world champion and he's stuck in NA.
Didn't even look that good playing on it. But he gets doesn't he get NA residency this year?
Yeah, next year. I think.
So his impact, so to speak, goes up like, way.
He's playing for Team Liquid.
Yeah, but it goes up way higher. His value as an individual talent in NA goes up a lot. So yeah, that's pretty important. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I think that just about covers more or less everything for LEC power rankings. I don't want to go too much deeper into it before we start asking things about your contract and how much you get paid. So we'll avoid that.
No, it's at least three.
A minute. Good stuff.
I have to work this out now. How many minutes are there in a year?
We're not paying him, are we?
No, only me.
Don't tell him that. Yeah, Stan gets paid though. Stan.
I do not make 350 a minute. If I made 350 a minute, I'd get paid 1.3 million for 9 months' work.
And that wouldn't be enough.
No, I get paid much more than that.
Yeah, you need more. Can't buy your tailored suits on just that penny's wage.
Yeah.
So, I believe since that should just about wrap that section up, let's go on to the final section of our little show tonight, which is the trivia quiz, the podcast. I hope you've all been brushing up on your game knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have an excuse, but the other two.
Okay.
Not even a tiny bit.
Okay, so how this is going to work?
Wait, can you hear me if I type?
I know we definitely
good. Let's go. I'm ready for this one.
We definitely kind of Stan type. Stan, just give us a bash of your keyboard real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we know if he's cheating. Okay, so how this is gonna work? I've got a little timer that I'm gonna drop on the screen.
Is it individual or is it like
It
just
is
jump in with-
individual.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds each.
Can we not like have a team like, I don't know, like me and Aaron against Josh or something?
I think that's pretty
seems
fair.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Josh and Aaron?
Hey, can I have Rick then?
Yeah, I've got the answers.
You-
I've got
you
all
can
the
have-
answers
have-
written down
Sorry,
for
we
me.
can do it individually. We can do it individually.
Yeah, we
I
will.
believe in
We
us.
will do it individually. Yeah, because I'm running the show and I'm telling you guys what to do. So what we're gonna do? That's Chaz. So 30 seconds per question.
Right.
There
That's
is.
a long time. Okay.
Well, yeah. Well, they're going to get. What's the word here?
Progressively harder.
That's it. Look at this guy. He's professional. He knows
That's
his
2
words.
words, so
Perfect.
it was obviously not.
Yeah.
Well,
word.
I know what harder. Right. Okay.
I'm sure you do.
Progressive is where I struggle. Okay. I'm stuck in the 90s. So,
Wow.
so it's going to start relatively easy. Across the course of 5 questions, get progressively harder. Thanks for.
Now that he
helping
said
me
that,
out.
none of us are going to get the first question.
So back to our lovable idiot. I tested these on Ollie Shouts, and I think he got 1 right out of
Oh,
out
boy.
of a potential 12 points.
Okay.
So, what we're gonna do, since we have our Discord, that will be where we drop the answers in. So I'll ask the question. I'll start a countdown timer. It will be on this on the screen for the stream.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, what are you talking about? Discord? I'm
Yeah.
confused now.
What are we doing with Discord?
So what you need to do? You've got 30 seconds. Think about your answer. Type it down.
Are we all getting the same question, or?
Yes. And then
okay.
when
I'm just going to copy Aaron's then.
when I tell you the time's
No, we'll
when I
press
tell
enter
you
at the
time's
same
up, yeah,
time.
you all press enter at the same time. If you haven't typed anything, sorry, but you're out. Sorry, Greyheart. No cheating.
Okay.
But
Let's go.
for each question, there will be the first question and then a bonus question. So it'll be 2 sets of 30 seconds will be what
So
you've
there's
got.
2 questions. There's 10 questions, basically.
No. It's you've got question 1, then you've got question 1.5. So it's
Can
like
you go through the rules again, please? I'm very confused.
No, just
It's
ask
like-
us the questions
it's like-
and we type
yeah,
it and then we
okay.
press enter when you say.
It's like when your mum's angry at you and she's like 2, 1.5, 1 3/4, like that. That'll be how this works. Apart from
Yeah,
the last
sure.
question, which there's 2 bonuses for. So that's a big one, but it is the hardest one.
Boy.
So, and you all figured out how to use your keyboards. You've all typed re at me in Discord. So let's get
Yeah.
into this. Unfortunately, I don't have any countdown backing music because that would be copyrighted. So I'm just gonna have to do a regular countdown instead. But question 1: how many champions in League of Legends have names that begin with the letter A? Got 30 seconds. Countdown begins now. Take a think of it. You can
Are we allowed to
you can
randomly talk?
you can confer with one another if you
Bard,
think.
Gangplank, Jin, Cogmore,
Zyra,
Xerath,
Zillion.
Zyra,
Oh, that's not helping. us
Yorick,
slightly.
15
Riven,
seconds.
Rengar. Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay, well,
Greyheart, you're not going to press enter yet. You're
Yeah,
going to press
well-
enter when he says press enter.
well, the time is up now, so everyone else can press enter.
I have no idea.
Well, the correct answer is in fact 10, which means
Oh,
Medic gets a
Oh,
point.
baby. Let's go.
Congratulations, Medic is up.
You forgot about
1.
Rengar, Greyheart.
Ah, Ringa!
No, I'm gonna make a note of how many points everyone has because I will forget otherwise. You can try. Maybe you can do that afterwards. But the bonus point for this question. So with 10 champions, not the 5 that Josh guessed somehow. Do you like? Yeah. Okay, so with 10 champions, A is the 4th most common champion name initial. Which letter is first? You got 30 seconds to think about it. Pretty easy, this one. I think this is the one that Ollie got right. Ollie got it right, so it's pretty easy. 15 seconds left. Which letter has the most champions that start with that? And you got five seconds. 3, 2. I see you're all typing. Time's up. Drop it in the chat. You said, Josh. Josh, Right, this is why we don't put Josh in charge of anything that matters, like the finances of our society. he just tells other people to do it. Oh,
Wait, we're mute-
dang it!
we're
Dang
muted,
it! Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, I pressed my hotkey by accident. So I don't know when that
no
was.
No one's heard any of that, right?
Well, that's good because that's good
so
for you.
what's happened is I've got 2 points and no one else has scored any.
I think it will have happened when I typed your names for the thing.
It's
but
fine. I think we're okay.
It's fine. So basically, what
I
happened
right
was
twice.
I saved you from the embarrassment of you putting A as your answer to the question. If A is the fourth most common champion initial, which letter is the most common? It's not A. It's also not S.
Oh, what a shame. What is it?
It's actually, and I'm pretty sure Maka doesn't even play this game. It's
like M?
one of my friends from work that I know.
No.
And she got it right. She put
Yeah, but I mean, you just guess a letter, right?
it worked. It's K.
No way.
No way is it K.
It's K.
Karma Katarina, Kaiser, Callista, Carthus Cassidon,
Hogmore.
K.
You just listed a lot of
Kennen,
champions.
Kha'Zix.
Canon, Kane, Kazik,
Kha'Zix, Kindred, Kled.
Hog, and Kled, right?
Okay, there's a lot of Ks,
Are there
yeah.
any other Ks?
There's 13
That feels like-
Ks.
That's a lot of Ks we just said.
13. And then how many S's are there?
I think S was in between
Wait,
A
Zona,
and...
Soraka Swain,
Oh, come on.
Sin,
He's
Scion,
just showing off at this
Edge,
point.
Shaco.
He only said Sona first because that
Shen.
was his old name.
Yeah, exactly.
Skarner.
That and Crackbox, was
Sway.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Crackbox. Okay,
I think
yeah,
we should
there,
have
there
called
must be
Crackbox
like
for this
11
entire
or
event.
12
Yeah,
S's.
so
Shit.
S is either second or third. It's in between. Okay, so
Ah,
as of
sorry,
right
guys,
now,
let everyone
So to
down.
clarify, the one thing that the guinea pig got right, we got wrong.
yes.
But I think that's
Obviously.
fine. I think that's fine.
Yeah, well done, Ollie. You proved yourself superior at that one particular question. Good job. So, question number 2, not 3, because that was a bonus question.
Okay, are we typing our answers in Twitch chat, by the way?
You can if you like.
It's just because
but
otherwise they can't see what we got wrong.
well,
so.
I don't want that.
yeah,
We want them
Okay.
to.
that'd probably save you the embarrassment. I'll just read them out. Just
I think at least
keep
one
them
of these,
discoverable.
Rick should just pretend we all got right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
I
Okay.
don't want to be less than Ollie in anything.
Question number 2. Well, get 2 questions right then. This one's still pretty easy. Question 2. Which champion/champions, could be plural, have the longest base ultimate cooldown at rank 1?
Holy shit.
Uh,
Well, I mean, it's got to be something like Karma, right? Or Nidalee.
Yeah, Udyr is up there. on this
Maybe
question.
at least.
Jace?
Yeah, Jace is definitely up there.
When
I have
do
two. I have 2 in my head. And
Am I
don't
putting
know
it in
which
Twitch
one to
chat
pick.
or am I putting it
In the- in
I'd
Discord.
put it
I'm
in
putting
normal
mine in
chat.
Discord.
Put it in
Alright,
normal
okay.
chat, I guess.
To clarify, if there are more than one, do we have to get all of them?
No, just either
Okay.
or. Okay, time is up. Drop your
Oh, sorry, there
answers.
we are.
Greyheart, you said Zillion. You were the only one who got it wrong.
Oh, Greyheart. Oh, that's a shame, Stan. I'm so sorry.
It is.
Is Twisted Fate up there as well?
Twisted Fate is probably close to Zillion. I think he's about 180. The 2 eligible answers for this is Karthus and Shen.
Oh, Shen,
Ooh,
yeah.
Now-
yeah.
It's anything global is going to be high, right?
Yeah.
So-
So for the bonus,
I've never
spending
played. In my
time-
defense, I've never played Shen.
so for the bonus point,
Oh yeah, sure you haven't. Sure you haven't. Stan.
bonus point for this question. How long in seconds is the duration of the rank 1 cooldown for Karthus and Shen? With no CDR, obviously.
Wait, it's
How close
assuming
do we
no
have to
runes,
be?
Right?
Yeah, assuming just completely base stats.
Right.
20 seconds.
In seconds.
Why did my
Can we, put
timer
it in,
just...
can we put it in minutes?
You could
What
just,
about in
I mean, you could just
pounds,
convert.
assuming you get paid
You could just-
$3.50 a minute.
Yeah, you go for that. If you do that, I'll give you a bonus point. But I won't, because that would be
Yeah.
unfair. 2 seconds, 1.
Ah, jeez.
Okay, drop something in. Ah, Josh with the 180. Now you're the only one to get it wrong.
It's turned around on that right answer. Gone exactly in the opposite direction.
Fantastic. 200 seconds is the correct answer for both Shen and Karthus. 3 minutes, 20 seconds. So, Maka got that one right as well. Like, she doesn't even play the game. What is going on? 200-ish. So I suppose I'll.
Good Googling skills, I reckon.
Yeah, that could be it. That could very well be it. So for
Why would you put ish if you're googling? That doesn't make sense to me. It's
Make it sound like you don't know what you're doing. It's
it could
a
be
mind
200,
game.
like 199 maybe.
All right. So this next question.
1% cooldown rune.
This next question is slightly different. This time, you get 60 seconds for this one. I'm actually gonna copy this list so it's fair because I know Ollie struggled with this one. So I'm gonna drop a list of items.
Oh, it's good.
Into the Discord.
Right.
I'll read them out when I do so. I need you to put them in order of the most expensive to the least expensive item. You've got 60 seconds to do it. You get 1 point if you get 3 in the correct place, and if you get all 5, you get the bonus point of 2 points. So the items we're looking at is Ginsu's Rageblade, Hextech Gunblade, Edge of Night,
so that costs 200.
Titanic Hydra,
300.
and Sterak's Gauge. I'm going to put them in the Discord. You've got 1 minute starting from the. I put it in.
You said you were going to
starting now.
Oh, there we go.
There you
Okay.
go. I
God.
was changing
I
the
don't
countdown
build any
timer.
of these items on ADC.
Hey, I'm a support main.
That's why I didn't
Actually, I'm
put
not
things
going
like
to
Mikhail's.
lie.
Yeah, that's true. Put them in Twitch chat. Okay, fine.
Right, so
So right, Titanic must be really expensive, right? Because it's a super big item.
Is that Morgan on our channel chat?
It's me and
No,
Morgan. He
it's
gives
you
evening
me-
at the moment.
That's that German resident joke. Come on.
so
Wait,
I'm
don't you
doing
main top, Stan?
no jungle.
Oh, okay.
Which means he builds like one of these items, maybe 2.
Yeah, I build none of them.
Yeah, I
10
build
seconds left.
Twinsies occasionally.
I'm working on it. I can't.
5, 4, 3.
I haven't written the
2,
full item name. Is that
1.
fine?
That's
I
fine.
think I've forgotten one item. Hold on. What have I forgotten? I haven't got that one. Hold on. Just writing it in. There we go.
Just
Oh
over
yeah,
there.
sure. Just writing it in.
You can see which one I
Okay.
forgot quite easily.
Just googling it now, guys. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so Medic, your item order.
Oh, I've got. I think I've got it wrong. I think Titanic's more expensive than Gunblade.
To clarify, I've gone from lowest to highest.
You-
To clarify.
You would be correct.
If
in
Titanic's
that
more
order.
expensive than
Yeah,
Gunblade,
it is.
Titanic's 3.5 and Gunblade's 3.
Does that mean I've got it right?
Fuck.
So
Sorry,
the
I
correct
wrote-
the correct
apologies.
answer here. No, it's fine. We have mature mode on probably.
Possibly.
Honestly, no. It like the PUBG stream I did the other day. It was way worse, so it's fine. So
Well, now you tell me.
I mean, it was fine. Morgan told me to do it. It's cool. So the correct answer here is Titanic Hydra, the most expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've done it
Hextech
from lowest to
gun.
highest, to
Yeah,
clarify.
because you can't listen to a question, obviously.
Yeah.
Hextech Gunblade in second place, Sterak's Gauge third, Rageblade fourth most expensive, and Edge of Night is the cheapest. So
Interesting.
what I can see is, Josh, you've got Edge of Night second most expensive, which is wrong.
I just based it
Ginsu's
on,
you've
I
got
know that,
least
Bruiser
expensive,
builds are super expensive.
but
I think Stan got it right.
yeah. So you
I mean, that's what happens if you take an extra 10 seconds.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Arguably, you could argue I got it completely wrong apart from Starix, but
That-
you know.
that's,
Yeah,
that's
'cause
true.
you
I
would've
mean, he's
gone
done it in a
around.
backwards order, though. It looks completely wrong to me.
I'll give him half a point for not listening to the
What?
question.
You do actually have to listen to the
Yeah,
question.
you got the order correct, but the question wrong. So I'll give you half a point.
What?
Josh, you went Titanic, which is right. Edge of Night, which is
Titanic
wrong.
and Sterak's are right.
Sterak's is right. Gunblade and Ginsu is both wrong. So unfortunately, 2 out of 5. That's not a point, my dude. Unlucky. So Gray, you get. You would have had 2 points because you got them all in the right order, but you did them backwards. So I'll give you half of the points you would have got, which is 1.
Can we have someone in Twitch chat stand up for me here? This is
I
bullying.
no,
This is just my league dyslexia kicking.
Also, he's the guy that makes the quiz, right? You listen to the quiz master. Rick knows what's up. Also, if you get 2 points, I don't think I can catch you anymore. So
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Got
You-
1.5 point. There you go.
Okay, I'll give you 1.5. I can deal with that. And Medic, don't worry about catching him. You're now 1.5 points ahead of him. So
oh, genius. Genius.
okay, so this question is going to be a bit of a throwback. So how? Just real quick, when did all of you start playing League? What year?
2011.
Oh,
Yeah, same.
I think 2011. I think.
All right. So this should be doable for all of you. So cast your mind back to before this season with the runes reforged. The old rune pages, right? You know, your quints, your marks, your seals, your glyphs. Way back in the day, they used to have specific names given to them. They weren't just, greater quintessence of armor pen or something, but they actually had names. I'm going to give you 45 seconds to name any one of the names given to a rune, and for a bonus point, the statistic that it increased.
So what? I'm completely lost.
So the old rune systems, they all had names. Yeah. So for example, it would be like the greater quintessence of Greyheart or something, which would increase, I don't know, like peen size or something. So
that sounds right.
Yeah. So something like that. You have to give a name. There is potentially 22 correct answers here.
So we only have to do one.
Yeah, you only have to choose one.
Oh, okay.
For 1 point, and for a bonus point, the one that you named, the stat that it increases. You've got 45 seconds. How about it? Just for the record,
question.
I haven't written down the ones like the Sugar Rush.
Yeah, that was what, because I know one of the ones that was one of the special edition ones.
Yeah,
because I remember the name. Can I use one of the special edition ones?
Yeah, I haven't got.
To clarify, is it the quintessences we're doing? Yeah.
They're all the same.
Oh. So it's any rune that used to exist, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I put one down. I don't know if it's right though.
But surely the thing that it increased is in the name.
No, this was before they changed it to that. They all had names.
Right. Okay, I may be screwed on this one.
Get wrecked, man.
I
might lesser mark of
5 seconds.
Almost.
3, 2, 1. Drop your answers, please. Jesus Christ, what is that?
That's the reason I remember it.
So that was one of your.
It was a 2009, I think, Snowdown rune, or Snowdown Showdown rune that was released.
Actually, gonna have to Google. Okay, that appears to exist. I will say that this question was an absolute pain in the ass to look up a question for, because every time I looked up the old runes, it gave me the new ones with the new names. Until I found this one very useful thingy, which it won't let me put in the chat, which is unfortunate.
Send it to me and I can put it in.
No, I mean in the Discord. But it's basically someone has made a League of Legends rune page beginner's guide to essentially what runes to take, and it was the only thing that made me think I'm not going crazy. Right? They did have names.
They did, yeah. They used to have really cool names.
So it starts off with like greater glyph of shielding, which gives you things like magic resist. So your answer, the lesser mark of the Yuletide Tannenbaum. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That appears to have existed at some point, so I'll give you a point. Snow, you've gone for vampirism, giving you lifesteal. Let's have a look.
That
sounds right to me. I remember a vampirism one.
Yeah, that is on my list. So Josh, you get a point.
I remember taking one of these with 2 attack speed quints back in the ADC days.
Yeah, back in the good times.
3.5% lifesteal, something like that.
Stan, can we just discuss your answer real quick?
So basically, I used to play quite a lot of Sona Misfortune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like there was something that like increased their power.
Right. So you've gone for the greater mark of boobs.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds about right.
So no points. The other ones that you could have had was Desolation for Armor Pen, Fortitude, Vitality, or Endurance for hit points, Vigor Regeneration for health regen, Clarity, Knowledge, and Replenishment for mana and mana regen. I bundled them together because there isn't many. Defense or Resilience for armor, Warding, Shielding, Magic Resist, Alacrity is attack speed, Strength is attack damage, Avarice is gold per 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, what a classic.
Yeah.
Good old Avarice runes. That's what I'd run on Sona.
Avarice Blade.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Potency and Force gives you ability power. Insight, Magic Pen. Revival gives you less time spent dead.
Yeah, 5% less time spent dead.
The old Phantom Lord special.
And
that for me would have been really helpful.
And Brutality gave you crit damage is the other ones that I have written down. So
The 1% brutality rune. That was good fun.
So Stan,
Damage, chance.
if that question
Oh, yeah, it's
confused
crit
you
damage,
a
not
little bit,
chance.
Stan, strap in for this one because this one. This
Are
one
we going
gets-
super classic?
It's just the question itself has a couple of but so question 5. Can you name the champion whose passive has the highest AP ratio scaling in terms of damage dealt to specifically champions? There's a couple of
Whose passive has the highest AP ratio scaling?
in terms of damage to champions, because there is
Oh.
champions that have higher ones for damage to turrets or to
Right.
shields, but specifically damage dealt to champions.
On
And
their passive.
yeah, and it's AP ratio scaling, so things like max percentage health damage isn't the
Yeah,
ideal thing.
I'm in
So,
that boat right now.
yeah, so you got 30 seconds to name the champion. It's flat damage is where you're looking, and then after that there is a bonus, which actually it's 2 bonuses for potentially 2 bonus points. So I'll give you the 30 seconds starting now.
Anyone got any clue at all?
I can only think of one champion that this could potentially apply
There's a
to.
few on-hit champions.
Stan, it's not
Yeah.
boobs.
I mean, the champ does have boobs that I'm thinking of.
Lots of champions have boobs. That's
It's
not.
not. It's not Urgot.
The problem is like there's so many on-hit champs that like I'm not sure if that is their passive or their
5
passive,
seconds.
if it's part
Well, it's
of
got to
one
be a
of their
mid
abilities.
laner, right? Because they've got the high scaling.
2.
No, that's
One.
not true though. It could be
Okay.
anyone, right?
Drop your questions in.
I almost
I
put
was thinking
that.
I was thinking Diana as well. I'm
Now.
not sure.
This is an interesting one. So we've got Medic's gone for Echo.
I
Both
almost put that.
Josh and Stan have gone Diana. Both of those champions have the same ratio, and,
Oh.
and it puts them in second place
Ooh,
holy
What?
shit. Oh, you shit.
behind Katarina.
Oh, okay.
Katarina
that stick?
has the highest. Well, that is a very good question, and in fact, it's
what's
so
that
good.
passive?
In fact, it's that's one of the bonus questions. So 30 seconds. Can you
Wait,
can
so
you
what-
name?
What is
Can-
Katarina's
can
Well,
I-
passive?
okay, no. The question is, can you
Well-
name the passive? And
Okay.
for the
I mean,
second part
I
of the
can
bonus,
name it, whether it's
Yeah.
the correct name or not. Is,
Okay,
Okay,
well-
so yeah, can I just clarify something, please?
well,
Is this before or after her small rework? Because
after.
I'm 99% sure that her post.
yeah, I'm pretty sure her passive now doesn't have an AP ratio.
doesn't have any.
It's a cooldown
Ooh.
buff on her
on
ability.
her. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
don't make me Google things in the middle of.
Isn't it called like tenacity or voracity?
Hey,
it's-
listen,
well,
listen,
it's-
stop, because that is the bonus question.
That-
Okay,
sorry,
bonus question.
that is it.
Name the passive, and for the second part of the bonus, what is the AP ratio on that ability that I have written down on my sheet, not what the Wikipedia says. You've got 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, so it's what her old passive was then.
I don't think so, actually. Let's find out. Unless it's changed very recently.
God, I don't know. Ah,
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
15 seconds.
Right.
Hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop those in. Jesus Christ, Josh.
One
It's gonna be
1.8
really
is
hard.
really
1.8.
fucking hard.
People are complaining that Nico has a 1.3 scaling on her ultimate. That is... Okay, so
I am one of those people, by the way.
yeah. Okay, so everyone got it right. Thanks, Medic, for shouting that out before
Sorry.
I actually got the
I
question
can't
out.
spell
So
it though.
yeah, so I'll be generous. I won't give you half a point for spelling it wrong. However, none of you got the scaling right, assuming, of course, a maximum level Katarina, which I probably should have mentioned before, but it has a 100% AP ratio.
Okay, and what does it do?
It is actually the second part of the passive. Of whenever Katarina retrieves a dagger, she uses it to slash through all nearby enemies, dealing damage. Actually, plus 100% bonus AD, scaling up to 100% bonus AP. So actually,
think
yeah,
about
the dagger spinny
second part
thing
of that.
is part of the passive, not part of like the W, which is
Yep. You're right.
Two passive
I-
champions. What's this about?
Yeah, that's a 2018 complaint. It's literally I went through every single champion in the game just to make sure. So, but yeah, you were close. You had Echo and Diana, both of whom have 80% AP scalings on their third hit. Funnily enough, the throwback to third hit.
Mm-hmm.
Increased to 4 with the release of Jin, but that will do it. So out of a potential 12 points, in last place, Greyheart with 3.5.
Wait, I didn't come last?
Wait, what?
Could have been.
What?
You could have had 4 points, Grey, if you'd have just listened when I said in order from most expensive to least. But alas, here we are.
Hold on a second.
At 3.5 points.
I definitely got more than 3.5 points.
I don't know, man. You can watch the VOD. You definitely.
You got nothing on the first two. You got
I got Carthus is timer.
Yeah, that's one.
I got my 1.5 there. I just got Veracity.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
3.5.
that's 3.5. Yep.
Well, no, because you gave me one. You what?
No,
So you didn't
I
get
got something-
Carthus, you said Zillion. So you got the timer is 1.
Stupid.
You
thing.
got 1.5 for the
Yeah.
items, and then you got 1 for the.
in second place.
It's rigged.
In
Yeah,
second
it's rigged.
place.
It's rigged if I win. No, if I don't win. Then it's rigged.
What can I say? I'm a dirty guy. I rig things, but just to make sure that Josh doesn't win. So he came in second with 4 points.
Hey.
So
Good
Stan,
luck, Josh.
you played yourself. You could have been tied second, but unfortunately,
Savage.
you got to read/listen to the question, which means that our special guest is, in fact, our trivia quiz champion with 7
thank you.
points.
That's
Whoa.
massive. To be fair.
God damn, that is impressive, actually.
Thank you.
Senior medic.
I know
It's
who I'm
kind of
taking to the
like-
pub.
It is
quiz
my
later.
job to like talk about
This game.
game.
Yeah, I figured it might go this way. And that knowledge of obscure old dead runes.
That's the only one I know. I'll be honest. I didn't know any of the normal ones. I just know the Yuletide Tannenbaum because it's hilarious.
It is. That one and Sugar Rush are like the best
Yeah.
ones for move speed. But well, that being done and out of the way, we have our pod champ is what we
Thank
will
you. Thank you all.
champion of the podcast. Come on, get pod champ. Anyone? No, anyone?
Sorry. Why are you saying the same thing over and over again?
Come on, pod
He wants it in Twitch chat.
champ. Yeah, there we go. Morgan's got my back.
Yeah, Morgan. Morgan.
Classic Morgan. Well, unless we have anything else that we wanna say, I think we're pretty set to wrap it up there. We've crowned a champion. It wasn't Josh, so I'm happy with the outcome. Had some good
I
discussions.
did better than Ollie. That's all I dreamed of.
Yeah,
doing.
I mean everyone did. So there you go. You have that going for you, Stan. You weren't worse than Ollie,
Yay.
who is casting the Null right now. Actually, he's taken our jobs, so we have to show him up in our own little way. So
Good stuff.
that being said, I believe that'll do it. That'll wrap us up for this Salford Esports podcast. Thank you very much, Mr. Medic, for taking time out of your busy schedule of
So busy.
Sunday activities. Thanks.
I went to a Christmas market and now I did this.
Oh, we have German Christmas markets in England. Do you have English ones there?
No, it was a historical one actually. So there was axe throwing and you drank
Oh,
out of like
nice.
horns and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And now
fun.
Vedius is no more.
It's split in half. We're looking for a new color for next year. So
So Greyheart's gonna just dip off and get his application in for that. So
Yep.
thanks for
Can you
taking the
imagine
time.
me doing colour? Oh god.
Well, thank you for taking the time, Mr. Greyheart.
It's been a real pleasure.
Send
Thanks for having me on.
send love to your wife. In a purely
And also, it
platonic
saves
way.
me a tweet. Can I just send a bit of love to Medic as well? Because I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now without him. So thanks, man.
no worries, man. It's been a pleasure working with
Ooh,
you.
Jess just bought me a cupcake. You were gonna ask?
Can
Just-
I get one,
Can you
Jeff?
share it?
She brought me a
Yeah.
cupcake to ask if she could have it. Yes. No, you can have it. It's fine. That's fine. And then Josh is here as well. So thanks,
Hey.
Josh.
This has been a great podcast. I've really enjoyed this. Thanks for coming along, guys.
Been good fun.
You've been doing pretty well at your chairman duties of not doing much. So
I am the perfect man for the job.
absolutely are. With that being said, we will cut it right there, my dudes, my dudettes. Jess, with the cupcake, the hamsters in the room. We'll call it a night. Thank you very much for hanging out. Thanks for watching / listening, depending on if you have your screen turned on or not. And we will see you next time whenever we decide to do another podcast.
Silent nights recalling you, a souvenir of what it could be. Pieces of my mind are yours. I forgot the parts I'm missing. I pretend that we are okay, like nothing's ever broken. And I pretend that we are dancing, like the nights are never ending. I pretend that we are okay, like nothing's ever broken. And I pretend that we are dancing, like the nights are never ending. We will live a life, we will live a life, live a life, we will live a life in the fast lane. We will live a life, we will live a life, live a life, we will live a life in the fast lane. Girlfriend, you gotta get it right. Girlfriend, you gotta learn to fight. Girlfriend, you gotta get it right. Keep your eyes on the prize. Girlfriend, you gotta get it right. You gotta want it with all your might. Girlfriend, you gotta learn to fight. I know you're gonna be